What's up, Baldy? How are you?
Baldy.
Morning, guys.
Baldy, how was
had a good holiday and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. I had a lot of pie, watched a lot of football, analyzed a lot of football. Had a lot of drinks. It was good, man.
Did you spend Thanksgiving Day in Florida or in New Jersey?
Yeah, I was at my girlfriend's cousin's house. They had a big spread. So
Nice.
I had to do some stuff for the network for a couple of first games, but then I had some time later in the day, man, to get over there. So it was fun.
Hey, Baldy, what do you think of this? One of the junks went to a Thanksgiving gathering where there was no pumpkin pie.
It was a massive
on the dessert table.
Massive, food display.
I mean, that's a huge fail, right?
That's a violation.
I thought so too. Yeah. I have to agree.
There's a fine. I mean, I started my Thanksgiving Day's feast with 2 slices of pumpkin pie,
right,
just to get myself warmed up. And I would go pie turkey, pie ham, pie. That's how I did it.
That's a great setup. I've never heard of 3 different pie servings during one Thanksgiving.
Well, he's a big dude too.
The apple pie was just. It was, first of all, nobody had even touched it. I'm like, is there something wrong with it?
It's a poison pie.
Got to try apple pie.
He felt sorry for it.
Yeah, sure.
I felt sorry for the pie. That's what happened.
Hilarious. Well, some of us have been feeling sorry for the Skins here the last couple of
Nice
weeks.
pivot.
The Commanders, and then they kind of broke out and got back to kind of doing what they were doing the first 7 or 8 weeks, and now I feel a lot better about it. What is sort of your take on that, and what does it mean?
I had similar sentiment, but I just felt sorry for Tennessee because they didn't show up.
Yeah.
Like that was, and I called them out. That's the worst effort by a team I think I've seen this year. It was 28-0, and honestly, I don't know if Jaden had thrown a pass where the ball hit the ground.
Yeah,
it was. I have a lot of respect for a lot of those guys in Tennessee, and I been bragging about them like this is a team that's better than their record for a long time because they lost a lot of close games, whatnot, but they played hard. Jeffrey Simmons, Tafondre Sweat, Harold Landry. I mean, they got good players. I just didn't see it. They played better in the second half, but that first half was so credit Washington. But I mean, everybody had success. I mean, they picked up Chris Rodriguez after they cut him, and he went for 100 yards. I mean, everybody had success.
Baldy, those big guys on the interior for the Titans, they made me look dumber than usual because leading up to the game, I was like, I don't know, man. The Commanders might have a hard time because these guys aren't giving up a lot of rushing yards, even though they give up a lot of points. It's a weird defense. And then they just got completely flattened by the Washington offense.
I mean, they hand the ball off to Brian Robinson. On the first play, goes 40 yards to a touchdown untouched. Like, you just don't see that kind of stuff. You might see that, in college football sometimes. You don't see that in the NFL. Right. Not like that. I mean, that was – and you're right. I mean, those guys – Tafondre and Simmons and some of those Sebastian Joseph, they played good football to that point.
I saw your video. You broke down one of the plays that they were using the old counter tray.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I felt like I was watching Joe Gibbs. I thought it was Russ Grimm and Joe Jacoby pulling. That was the first play. It was a counter tray. I was like, that was right out of the Hogs playbook right there.
Insider calls are brought to you by Hellman's Real Mayonnaise. You can purchase Hellman's at your local Walmart, Kroger, or grocery store to add extra deliciousness and creamy flavor to your game day dishes this football season. So Terry McLaurin's been completely unlocked by Jaden Daniels. You have to feel good about the stats he's putting up. He's finally getting into the end zone a lot, which has been a problem for him throughout his career pre-Jaden. So that's really fun to see that connection between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, how that's blossoming.
I agree. And, I mean, sometimes the receiver is only as good as his quarterback, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody that was there with Terry, but this is a different game. I think he's got 9 touchdown catches. Right now. He's going to get double digits for the first time in his career. He's going to hit, this is going to be his 5th straight 1,000-plus yard season. He might get the most yards, and he looks like, receiver number 1. 2 weeks they're going to see the Eagles, who have the best defense in football, and that might be for a playoff spot for him. And so I know I'm going to be down there in a couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, he's going to see. I'm sure they're going to start seeing some coverages and things that he probably hadn't seen before. Although he's been their best receiver for 5 or 6 years now. But to see him find the end zone a couple times last week I know he's excited because I know he always thought he was one of the top receivers in the league. But unless you're putting up touchdowns, and 100+ catches, nobody's going to put you in that category. But he's going to do that this year.
So, Baldy, we approach here the final 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 games, and they're going to be critical games for a few teams chasing these wild card spots. Washington right now, if the playoffs started this weekend, they're in the 7th slot. Okay. Got a pretty comfortable lead based on the other records of some of these other teams. Still have to play teams that are chasing, like the Falcons. But the last 4 games are the Saints on the road, the Eagles here, the Falcons here, and then at Dallas. All right, so 4 games left. So you figure 10 wins probably get you in as a wild card. How are you feeling about the last 4 weeks?
Well, I'm going to see Atlanta this weekend in Minnesota. And it's supposed to be Kirk Cousins, homecoming back to Minnesota. But honestly, I wouldn't have any problem with pulling him right now and putting the rookie in there.
Wow.
All these rookie quarterbacks are having some level of success right now and look like they belong in this league. Jaden's been the best, but this Michael Penix Jr. is a tremendous talent, and Kirk Cousins was awful last week. And so I feel good about some of those games. I mean, Philadelphia is going to be a challenge, but they usually play Philadelphia pretty tough. Philadelphia is playing the best I've seen them play in a couple of decades right now. So that might be a challenge. But I feel like, 3 of those games they could certainly take. I mean, the Saints have really battled on. They could have easily beaten the Rams last week. Kind of lost it at the end, but they played really good. Offensively, Kamara's playing really well. So they're going to have you're going to have to play. You have to really show up.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certainly some games on there outside of the Eagles I think they're going to struggle with. But outside of that, they certainly have the chance to beat those other teams.
So we started off talking about Thanksgiving. It seems like a lifetime ago, but let's go back to the Thanksgiving game with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
By the way, you have a connection with Caleb, right? Did you work with him?
I was. He was part of this back when he was at Gonzaga College High School there in D.C. He was part of this quarterback collective that was, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and a couple guys were pretty involved, and a buddy of mine was running it, and he asked me to come and kind of open up like a film room. So we had a bunch of the guys that were there. I think Jaden might have been there also, but Caleb was like the star player there. And I remember just sitting in the film room with them and just, all right, how do you attack this cover 3? And what if they get to this quarters look? What do you like? I mean, that kid had an answer for every single thing. And he was a good guy. I mean, he was generally very pleasant and easy to get along with. And then you saw him throw the football at this, 2-day clinic that they were putting on. And man, he would have blown everybody away at the combine if he went to a combine when he was 18. So he was an advanced student for sure.
So we're starting to see some of that potential come out. In the second half, he had the 3 touchdown passes. I'm wondering, you as a guy who played in the league, what would your reaction have been on the sideline as that ending happened where they don't use a timeout, coach doesn't use a timeout, Caleb changes the play, and the game's just wasted away for him?
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, that's a head coaching decision. I had people coming back to me because I called it in real time. I'm like, I'm not advocating for Matt Eberflus to be fired, but this is how coaches do get fired when they don't have the answers when you need the answers. And that was his job to literally call the timeout, get the right play in there, tell the field goal team we've got no timeouts left. We're going to gain 7 yards. We need you on the field, set and ready to go tie this game up, and they didn't do any of that. And then his post-game press conference, we were fine with, taking a shot to a Dunze. Well, no, that's not the answer. And, really started with the Hail Mary, the play before the Hail Mary 7 weeks ago in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And, players weren't focused on the play, and, obviously, Washington wins the game on it, the whole thing. It's been one thing after another every week. And so I don't think Chicago had any choice. Plus, I think they really like what Thomas Brown is doing. He's gone from, honestly, quarterback coach to offense coordinator to now interim head coach. And I knew he would interview well if he did interview. And so I think, they're giving him an audition right now.
I agree with everything you said, but what just befuddles me, because I put a lot of blame on Caleb, I think it's because I have this because I'm just such a Jaden guy, so I want to be mean to the others.
Okay, all right.
But to be fair, but honestly, they rep this out, right? This is standard. You're around, you go to all these. This is standard 2-minute stuff that every team does all the time. Like, how is this not? I just assumed that this is something that they've repped out a million times.
Yeah, but I look. I'll give you an analogy.
Yeah.
You think Tom Brady did that in his 12th game with Bill Belichick on the sideline? I don't think he did. I mean, I
Right.
could ask Tom. We'll get him on the three-way here.
Right.
We could ask him, about it. But I just think that he's getting the play coming in. He didn't like the play. He changed the play, which is his right to do. The coach sees what's going on. Like, he has to call the timeout there and give yourself time. I just thought that's too much for any young quarterback. I don't know that Jaden's calling a timeout in that situation with Cliff or Dan sitting right there. If that situation comes up this weekend or next weekend against the Eagles, I don't believe Jaden's taking charge with 32 seconds to go and telling everybody what to do.
Hey, Baldy, did you hear about Thomas Brown's weight?
No.
So Thomas Brown was, like you said, quarterback's coach. Then he becomes the offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach. He says in the last 22 days since the firing of Shane Waldron, he's lost 22 pounds because he hasn't had time to eat.
Wow.
I've not heard that. I'm not.
You need to bring him to that Thanksgiving where you had 9 slices of pie.
Yeah. No. But I'm good though. Like, it took me 4 days to get it off, but I got it off. I wouldn't know what to do if I lost 22 pounds. Nothing would fit. I'd look like a bad looking turkey, like turkey neck and everything. I don't know if I'd like that. I like working, but I don't like losing 22 pounds over it.
Yeah.
Hey, Baldy, the hit that Trevor Lawrence took was kind of scary, right? And we've seen what's happened to some of these quarterbacks like Tua. And what do they call it, Eric? The fencing motion?
Fencing posture.
The posture where their arms are just stiff and they can't move. I mean, it's very scary to watch. And look, Trevor's a big dude. He's 6'6", right? I mean, he's not
big.
He's not thick, but he's tall. How do you feel about these quarterbacks sliding instead of diving or just taking a hit, especially if you're Lawrence? I mean, you're 6'6", you can take a hit from a DB or a linebacker. And then what did you feel about the player that actually laid the hit on Trevor and got suspended?
Well, I feel like, first of all, I thought the play, if I really looked at the play, it looked like it was supposed to be a boot and then get everybody flowing from Houston that way, and then he was going to throw it back across the field to Travis Etienne because it was a 2nd and 7 play, and I thought that was because the whole offensive line's on the other side of the field. What he did when he came out, he saw like there was nobody there, so he just took off, and he could have slid at any point, but he was sliding to get the first down, and so Aziz doesn't know that. He just sees the guy. He's a runner. He's not looking to throw it. He's got the ball tucked in his arm. I'm sort of defending Aziz a little bit here just because that's Trevor in the open field. We've seen quarterbacks fake slide. We've seen him do all kinds of stuff. He doesn't know if he's sliding. He does slide right at the first down marker. But if he really wanted to protect himself, he would have just taken 3 yards and just gotten down. And there wouldn't even been any contact. So, I mean, I know he led with his forearm and he hit his head. And I want to protect the quarterbacks also. But the quarterbacks have to protect themselves as well and not even get close to Aziz. Like, he's coming full speed. He's seen a quarterback out there in the open field. He doesn't want him to get the first down. I don't think there was any intent by Alshire to injure Trevor Lawrence. Now, if he wasn't hurt, I think there just would have been a flag.
Right.
But the fact that he was, injured and we saw what happened, I don't think the league had any choice but to make a suspension. Now, it might get reduced a little bit. I mean, he's got to have a chance to defend himself, but it's a tough situation for a linebacker.
Real quick, your thoughts on tonight's game, Packers-Lions?
Well, I mean, the Lions are really undermanned defensively. The linebackers are out. Malcolm Rodriguez, Anzalone, corners are out. Like, this is a chance for Green Bay to go in there and really tighten this whole thing up. So I think Green Bay is going to play a really good game tonight. They know what's at stake. They have a chance to still – Minnesota plays on Sunday. That's a very, very contested race. But if there's one team that can go in there and win, because Jordan Love's playing really good these last 2 weeks, I think the Packers have the chance to do it.
Baldy, thanks as always for the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, you bet, guys.